Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features Daredevil, The Man Without Fear, number 168, cover dated January 1981. Now at the time this comic was bi-monthly and it would have been on the stands in mid to late September. So the cover here by Frank Miller, of course, and most famous this issue for the introduction of Elektra. But you'll note that her name is spelt wrong. There in the cover caption, Elektra with a C, but it should just be with the K. Elektra, once he loved her, now she is his most deadly enemy. So Elektra introduced here to be a femme fatale, former flame of Daredevil's. Great art on the cover here. Great use of chiaroscuro style, so a mix of black and white, and very much influenced by Will Eisner, of course. And here we've got Elektra with mostly in deep silhouette, but we've got rim lighting here from the bolt of lightning behind her. Really nicely done. And then if you pay close attention to the main flash of the lightning here, you'll see this squiggle in the lightning, and that in fact is Frank Miller's signature. So I got to meet Frank at a comics convention in London back in 2018, and I had the pleasure and honor of getting him to sign my copy of Daredevil 168, so I'm really happy with that. So let's open this one up to the first page. Up to this point, the issues of Daredevil had contained about 17 pages of story. But this one, we've got 22 pages of story. So really a great opportunity for Frank Miller to really let his story breathe. And most of the story takes place over the course of one night, but there is a significant flashback to Daredevil's youth. And we will talk more about that in due course. So the title of the story is Elektra, spelled correctly here, and the creative team, Frank Miller, artist and writer. So in my previous video on 167, Daredevil 167, I talked about the fact that Frank Miller was not happy, did not have a good working relationship with Roger McKenzie. He wasn't happy with McKenzie's stories and scripts. And Denny O'Neil found out about this, and in the previous issue, Frank supplied a backup story, and O'Neil was so impressed by the quality of art and writing that he offered Miller to become writer-artist on the title. So he fired McKenzie. Miller leapt at the chance of being writer-artist, and you really do see here how much better it is when a comics creator is both writing and drawing their own comic. But he needs some help here, and the help comes in the shape of Klaus Janson, who's credited as inker and embellisher. When he's credited as embellisher, it means that some of these pages, Miller's pencils might have been less finished than previously because of the fact that he's writing and drawing this issue, and there's 22 pages rather than 17. So Janson stepping into the breach and maybe finishing some of the details on some of these pages. And then Dr. Martin credited as colorist. So Dr. Martin, that it was and is the name of color dyes that colorists at this time used to use. But what it indicates is that there's a team of colorists working on this issue, and that indicates that maybe there was a little bit of a deadline crunch trying to get this one off to the printers. And then we've got Joe Rosen doing the letters, and Denny O'Neil, editor. So I think it's worthwhile reading out the narrative captions here that Miller chooses to open the story with, because the writing is so good for a young artist at the time. Just really great work here. So let's see how he opens this story. Close your eyes, let the night touch you. Feel the cold, driving rain as it batters your face and soaks your clothes. Hear the moan of a freight barge on the nearby East River, the haunting chimes of a solitary church bell as it tolls the midnight hour. Taste air heavy with lingering fumes of rush hour traffic long gone. Smell, in maggot-ridden garbage, the stench of another day's misery in New York's Lower East Side. Let the night touch you, and you will take in only a fraction of its total texture, a texture fully experienced by only one man, a blind man, Daredevil, says Turk as he takes off his blind man's glasses. Turk, of course, not blind at all. And in the meantime, as you're reading all that, we have our story going on visually in the background. An apparent blind man here with the sign saying, please buy a pencil. This great top-down shot of the lamppost illuminating just this swatch of the street corner. This wino here covered over with an old newspaper, he'll turn out to be a character in his own right in subsequent pages. The dog here that's sleeping in the rain and then pops to attention as Daredevil sends his billy club bouncing off the pavement and then swinging around the lamppost. And we get a top-up view on Daredevil here. Just great command of combination of words and visuals. Just a perfect blending and meld of text and art, and great rendering of the wind and rain swept night sky here down on the Lower East Side. Really great stuff. Great first full issue by Frank Miller as writer-artist on Daredevil. So then we're into the action, and there's some great storytelling going on here. So Turk 6 Brutus, that's the name of the dog, on Daredevil. Daredevil bounces back with this DeLuca effect, and then so we've got a straight on angle looking from the side at this, and then Miller switches our point of view so that we go behind Daredevil and we're looking towards Turk just as Daredevil strikes out at the dog, takes care of him with a kick in the jaw with his left leg, and meanwhile Turk is taking out a blade that's concealed within his blind man's cane. And meanwhile the wino here wasn't unconscious from drink at all, but has been sent to keep an eye on Turk and recognizes now that Daredevil's onto them. Okay, so why is Daredevil bothering Turk, which he always does? Well, he's looking for information, and he's looking to track down a thief named Alaric Vollenquist, who has hired Turk's boss, Eric Slaughter, to protect him. And this guy's also working for Slaughter as well. And Daredevil needs him because Vollenquist was, he needs to get him to court in the morning so that another man who's been falsely charged with murder won't have to pay for a crime he never committed. And Turk here is all compassion. Now you're breaking my heart, he says, as he swings the blade at Daredevil. Daredevil dodges it, of course. Great action here, hitting Turk in the back of the neck, and he gets him right up against that lamppost. Meanwhile, this guy, the apparent wino, thinks this stinks. Slaughter told me I'm supposed to make sure Turk's kept quiet if something like this happens. Looks like he's going to sing. Guess that sinks it. But Daredevil's onto him. That wino circling behind me, he's trying to be quiet. He doesn't know that I can hear his heartbeat, or that he's clearly limbed by my radar sense. It's a sure thing he's another of the Slaughter's men, and he is. Great use of magenta here. And so Daredevil ducks. This guy sends off his nitroglycerine explosion. And he runs down this alley, and he's leaping over this fence. And this is great storytelling by Miller here. So we have an action-to-action storytelling, panel to panel here, these tall vertical panels. So getting up on top of the fence collapsing beneath him, falling to the ground, and then he looks up, and who's in front of him? Except, of course, for Daredevil. But there's a bit of continuity here. Daredevil was injured in his shoulder by the explosion. And, you know, the guy is thinking, maybe you can get away. In fact, you look lousy. That explosion must have really kicked your guts in. So I don't got to listen to you, and I don't got to talk to you. And so he pulls a gun on Daredevil, but that's not going to work. Daredevil hits him with his right leg, knocks the gun out of his hands just as he shoots it, tells him to talk, and then here we go. Here's our introduction to our new character, Elektra. We've got this great top-down view. So we have the fence here broke with the planks strewn out on the ground. Daredevil's got his right foot on the guy, and he's getting him to talk here. Vollenquist scum, I want Vollenquist. It's great. And so the guy says, yeah, sure. He's holed up in a loft at Mercer Street. But up here, we have Elektra looking down. So she's on this guy wire above him. And we see her with the sai there in her hand, but we don't see her face. Really, really great storytelling here by Miller. And then, boom, she hits Daredevil in the back. That's got to hurt, with the handle of the sai right in the back of the neck. We're told agony explodes behind sightless eyes. I'll bet it does. And then she's down on the ground. She knocks him. She kicks him in the jaw. He falls, he struggles to remain conscious. Somehow he hears fleeing footsteps. This is great. So just the way that Daredevil uses his billy club, Elektra uses the sai. So she hits it off the wall, it ricochets and smashes the guy in the jaw. So Daredevil hears the splintering of bone as it smashes an unprotected jaw. So she's got the guy by the arm, he's immobilized, and she says to him, there's a bounty out in Europe for Alaric Vollenquist Bilge, so that's the character's name, a bounty I intend to collect. You're going to help me capture him or I'm going to kill you. It's as simple as that. So Daredevil here hears the voice. He's about to go unconscious from those blows to the head. That voice, Elektra, he recognizes her, but he conks out. And then we have our flashback as Daredevil, unconscious, loses the outside world. From within, remembered sounds and smells come forth. It is a time before there is a Daredevil. There is only a 19-year-old boy who has not yet found a purpose for his strange powers. Matt Murdock, freshman, studying pre-law at Columbia University. So at this time, Miller lived in New York. He lived in Manhattan. And this looks like he probably drew the library of Columbia University from life. Pretty cool. So we get 7 pages of this flashback to Daredevil's, or Matt Murdock's rather, freshman year at Columbia. And here he is with his roommate, Foggy Nelson, and Foggy's returning these overdue library books. But he stumbles on the steps, ironically, just as he was telling Matt to watch out for a statue, and then the dean arrives. And this is a bit strange for me, like the dean recognizes these guys by name, Franklin Nelson, Matthew Murdock, what is going on here? And Foggy tries to explain, and the dean is unimpressed, and he says, I see that this sort of nonsense, he says, I see, Nelson, that you are blocking the way. I see that I am escorting a new student, an important new student around the campus. I see that this sort of nonsense, but the narrative caption says Matt does not see, but he smells a delicate French perfume and hears a voice soft as velvet. So this is how he notices Elektra for the first time. And she says to him with a little smile, you really should take better care of your friend. So he's about to say more to her, but her personal bodyguard here, Athos, pushes Murdock back. And her father says, come away, Elektra. So she does. And Matt has fallen in love with this girl. So he decides a few days later to get a little private interview with her. He ropes Foggy in. Foggy sends this paper airplane past Athos here, calls him Bullethead from behind a bush. Athos goes after him, and then Matt Murdock whispers to Elektra to come here, and she's on her guard. Very well, she says, but if you are an enemy of my beloved father, be warned. I'm well trained in martial arts. So already at the age of 18, she's well trained. Whatever you try, I will be ready for a rose. That's great. I love this sequence as the hand disappears behind the wall and then pops out with the rose. And so he introduces himself to her, that he's pre-law. She introduces herself, Elektra Natchios, political science. And she says she rarely gets to meet other students because of Athos. And she says here, since we left Greece, I've not made a single friend. So Matt says to her, Elektra, I have 2 tickets to the game tonight. I'd like for you to come to it with me. And she's hesitant with you, but you? I'm sorry, I did not mean, I mean, I would like to, but you know what I mean. As she hands the rose back to him, sure, I know what you mean. And Matt thinks to himself, you mean I'm blind and my handicap is a wall between me and the world? A great stone wall that nothing I do will move? Or is it? Pop always says you make your own chances. I can't let this chance go by. I won't. So he pulls off his blind man's glasses and says, hey, Olive Oil, in this country you can't convict a guy without a trial. Great DeLuca effect here. We've got Pan here in the background. That's pretty cool. And again, probably drawn sketch from life at Columbia University without a trial. So she's amazed. How did you do that? So he says, I'm blind, but I have other abilities that more than compensate. She doesn't understand. He doesn't either. But he says, I was 15 when I saved an old man's life by shoving him out of the way of a runaway truck. So we get a little kind of pressy of Matt's origin here with the radioactive canister and all the rest. But he says he'd like to talk again. He's got the rose for her. to give it back to her, she accepts it. So she says, come for me at 8, 4 eyes. Athos is back, but he's too late. Matt's got a date, and Elektra is in love. Really well done. And then we've got a little montage here. They meet that evening and the next. Very soon they fall in love. It is a first love for both, and for a year they're euphoric. Then we have Matt and Foggy. They're in their second year, and Foggy's looking to know that maybe they might go get something to eat, but Matt says, here, I can't, Foggy. Today's Elektra's birthday, and we're going to, but there's a noise. There's a disturbance on campus. So there is guys holding hostages in the administration building. So Foggy's there. Hold on a second, the administration building is not where you're meeting Elektra, Matt. But Matt's gone, and he uses this red scarf that he bought Elektra as a birthday gift to disguise himself. So he climbs up the side of the building to get altitude to scan the situation. And he says, now I'll see if all those hours of secret training count for anything. No mention as yet of stick, but that will be coming. So he's up and he uses his radar sense and he figures out how many people are in what rooms and so on and so forth. So he's got the whole situation scoped out. I always love this that Frank Miller does. This is a great little visual effect. The springing, reverberating flagpole. It's great. So Matt is balancing atop the flagpole while this hostage taker is looking out the window. He makes his way in. He deals with all these guys from the gang. And he's in the room then and shouts to Elektra, hit him low, olive oil. They both strike swiftly, efficiently, but then, and this is where it all goes wrong, Matt thinks, I miscalculated one of the hostage takers. He's falling backwards. So he falls back and out through the window. And the police down on the ground, the SWAT team, conclude they're killing the hostages. Those slimy, all I need is to get a clear shot. So this is Elektra's father. He's tied up here, the ambassador. And Matt says to him, stay down, sir, stay down, he shouts at him. But the guy's getting up, getting to his feet, and he's shot in the back through the window. So it's all this tragic misunderstanding. So Matt's heroic rescue attempt of Elektra, he succeeds in rescuing her, but her father's killed. This guy has to be dead as well. Would he survive? What is that, a second or third story drop? Second story. Would he survive that? Maybe. Elektra here is absolutely distraught, and understandably so. Great use of magenta on this side of her face. And then we get the narrative captions. She doesn't cry, not then, not later, as her father's put in the ground. These are two great panels here. So Matt is there holding her arm, and there's just no response from her. And silently he takes his hand back. That's really interesting. That speaks volumes. No words, speaks volumes. And they walk their separate ways at the cemetery. She never cries. Finally, so Matt gets a message from Elektra. I ran right over what's happening. She says she's leaving. She's returning to Europe. Leaving, but, and she says, there's no other way. I cannot continue to study laws in which I no longer believe. They had a dream. He was to be the US's finest lawyer, and she wanted to change the world. Remember, she was studying political science. She says she used to love the world, but now she can't let it touch her ever again. You're a part of that world and you love it. You let it hurt you, and you love it all the more. I'm not that strong, she says. Matt pleads with her, I love you, wait, and she kisses him. It's too late, Matt, I'm sorry. He says, Elektra, please don't go. But she goes, and he's crying there. And there he is coming to, in the present, on the rainy night in Lower East Side. Don't go, please darling, don't go. And he's coughing, he's getting up, he's coming to, and he thinks to himself, haven't thought of her for years. That evening, don't know how I survived it. Never heard from her again, never in all the years that followed. I kept busy, I had my career, and in time, I had Daredevil. The wound she left healed. Until tonight, it was ripped wide open, just like this shoulder. Sweet of her to bandage it. And this we only know from the dialogue because the colorist, whoever it is, filling in here, has not noticed the bandage, but it's there in the inks. And you can see it even here. so not colored properly, but again, probably because of the rush. I love the background detail on the side of the building and the fallen over trash can as well. And again, this is influence of Will Eisner here on Miller's art. So Daredevil's got a moral quandary. He's thinking about what Elektra has become, and he concludes, no matter how much it pains me, I must hunt Elektra down and bring her to justice. So this is great. This is a great page here. A tenement somewhere below Houston Street. Just look at the use of chiaroscuro, black and white on this page. Again, you've got that lightning effect like he used on the cover. And here we've got Slaughter here. And he's got Vollenquist. He's keeping an eye on him. Vollenquist is drinking heavily here. And they get a phone call. Bilge calls in. And he's there. Look at this. This is great continuity as well. So she broke his jaw. And he's got this rag holding his jaw. And just the way that she's got his hand immobilized there, he can't move, and she's got the sai directed right at his throat, at his neck. So he's there on the phone talking to Slaughter, saying, I know I'm late, I ran into a little bit of trouble. Daredevil showed up and tried to make me and Turk tell him where you got Vollenquist. No sir, Turk almost talked, but I scragged them both with a bottle of nitro. Yes sir, it's all set up. The seaplane will be ready to take Vollenquist out of town at 4 o'clock, just like he wanted. No sign of the bounty hunter, and he says yes, he'll stay put, he promises. But this is a clever little bit here. It's a trap, Slaughter concludes. Bilge said to meet the seaplane at 4 o'clock, an hour later than the arranged time. So that's clever. That was our signal. It means the bounty hunter has him. So Vollenquist here is shocked and frightened. But Slaughter's really calm. He says, we meet the seaplane. Our bounty hunter has been kind enough to provide us with an opportunity to eliminate him. But Vollenquist has run out of cigars. So he sends one of his assassins out to buy the cigar brand that he prefers. And this is great. This is a great comic bit. But also, you can really see the Will Eisner influence on this particular page. In particular, the way the rain is falling here and the rendering of the textures on the building, in particular the cigar shop. And I just like the comedy of the henchman complaining, Mickey, I've run out of cigars, fetch me some. Criminy, I'm a qualified hitman, got 4 kills to my credit. What does Slaughter have me do? Answer the phone, fetch cigars, I don't need this. That's great. I love the way that Miller gave like these henchmen and thugs and hoodlums their own distinctive personalities and voices. Really, really good stuff. But who's watching Mickey? None other than Daredevil. Great top-down angle here down to the street. And here is that Will Eisner panel. This is absolutely an homage to a famous splash page from the Spirit strip from the late 40s, where you have a view of a storm drain gutter, and your perspective is down at the level of the storm drain, and you've got the Spirit walking along and the title credits flowing into the storm drain. I don't have a copy of that comic, naturally enough, but trust me on this, search for it. It's a famous splash page. Just search for Spirit splash pages. You'll see this. Miller's absolutely homaging it here. He's reversed the angle, because in the splash page the storm drain is running this way, so he's reversed that, but it is most definitely an homage. So Daredevil picks up Mickey, and he's going to get the story regarding the location of Vollenquist. But this is a great little bit here where he's holding him over the edge of the building, and Mickey says to him, I ain't afraid of you, Devil. You got a rep. Everybody knows you ain't never killed nobody. Great silent sequence here where he drops him, and so he's falling. What's going to happen? But he sends his grapple hook from the billy club right down to the top of this street lamp, swings down and catches Mickey before he hits the ground. And he says to him, you know, that's true, but I can keep this up all night, can you? Mickey, no, he's had enough, he'll talk, but first he thinks he's going to be sick. That's great. There was always that like sense of humor running through Miller's Daredevil. Really, really good stuff. This is a great establishing shot of the seaplane. So we've got the angle behind the seaplane at the wharf here, and we've got, I love the magenta here for the stormy night, like the raining stormy night, and then Elektra here at the end of the dock. So Slaughter's here, Wallenquist behind him, and he's got his heavies here, and he tells them to take Elektra. So she's, great storytelling. Look at her. She's taking off her trench coat, and the guys are taking out their weapons, the chains here. This guy's got his knives, and she's got her sais ready to go. So she hits this guy in the face, elbows this guy in the jaw, and comic dialogue here. So this guy thinks, Grotto is his name, he thinks it's Screwy, this big deal bounty hunter being nothing but a broad, but she elbows him in the nose, probably breaks that nose, and she takes out the other guys as well. This guy with the nunchucks, nicely done, and this is really cool, dry wit here next, but these guys have got guns trained on her. Just great action sequence on this page, really, really well done. So Elektra seems to be in trouble. Slaughter attempts to hire her, turn her over to his side, but she says, I serve no cause, no law, no man. Meanwhile, look at this little sneak behind the wooden pylon here, and he blows a dart at her, catches her. Slaughter says, a tranquilizer dart. It'll knock you out, but it won't kill you. We will. Tie her up and find something to weigh her down, he says, then throw her into the river. And then we've got this little kind of grim comic moment. In the old days, we would have taken the care to make her a pair of cement overshoes. We had so much more style in the old days. But they're interrupted by headlights from the seaplane. Like an angry bird of prey, the seaplane that was to take Alaric Wallenquist to freedom instead charges the aged pier. So they're shooting at it. This is fantastic, this panel here. Daredevil flips out of the cockpit of the plane onto the pier as the plane goes up in flames. Great DeLuca effect here. And he knocks the guns out of the hands of Slaughter's henchmen. Wallenquist here is left with Elektra. He throws these guys off the end of the pier. And Wallenquist, do not move, Daredevil. Stay precisely where you are. So he's got a gun on Elektra, and Daredevil is concerned here. What's he going to do? Yes, I understand. He says, please, whatever you say. Sehr gut. Now turn your back and slowly walk away. So this isn't good. So Daredevil knows his heartbeat will jump just before he fires. That's when I'll make my move. Whatever that is. Think, Murdoch, there has to be a way out. There always is. So he hears a sound. It's Elektra. She's waking up. So this is the only chance. Love these tall, thin, vertical panels in the middle of the page between our big anchor image here of the scene, and then Daredevil sending off the billy club. Hit him low, olive oil. So will she remember? He's banking on it. Yes, she remembers. Last page, page 22 of the story. So she hits him low, straight in the gut, and Daredevil doesn't make a mistake with the billy club this time, unlike his 19-year-old self. Hits Wallenquist in the back of the head. That's him out for the count. And Elektra understands and acts. So she recognizes, it's like a token of recognition. She recognizes him. Matt, it is you. And they kiss. But that's it. Echoing beneath the West Side Highway, approaching police sirens wail hopelessly late. A distant foghorn gives out a great long moan. For the first time, Elektra cries in the rain. Whoever colored this did a great job here with the magentas and purples here. Looks really, really good. So what a first full, complete issue by young Frank Miller, writer-artist, introducing a brand new character into Daredevil's mythos, Elektra, his old college girlfriend, and femme fatale. And she would play quite the role in the coming couple of years' storylines on the title. And yeah, I'm impressed. Are you impressed? Let me know what you make of this issue of Frank Miller's in the comments to the video. Letters page here, just a couple of letters, one dealing with the non-show Punisher story in issue 167. So the point is made that the Comics Code registered objections to the content of the story. Ultimately, we will see that story in, I think, issue 183. It'll get reworked. And who is it that's answering the letters here, except none other than Frank Miller himself? That's pretty cool. So I do hope that you enjoyed this video review and commentary on the famous introduction of Elektra in Daredevil 168. If you did like the video, please like it on YouTube. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.